What if the person cleaning your house held the key to your entire family fortune? What if the will you spent years carefully crafting contained a secret clause that only one person in the world could fulfill? And that person was the immigrant maid everyone else overlooked. This isn't the plot of a movie. This is the shocking reality that unfolded in one of America's wealthiest families, and the consequences will make you rethink everything you know about inheritance, loyalty, and who really knows us best. We spend our lives accumulating wealth, property, and possessions, but we rarely stop to consider who actually knows the real value of what we own. Not the price tags, but the memories, the stories, the sentimental worth. This true story reveals the dangerous assumption that blood relatives automatically understand a person's legacy better than the domestic workers who witness their daily lives. I'm about to share an emotional story that will challenge every notion you have about family, money, and justice. This isn't just another inspirational tale about an underdog. This is a raw, real-life human drama about a dying man's last act of defiance against his own children, and the housekeeper who became the unlikely instrument of his final wishes. Get ready to discover how a single secret clause in a multi-million-dollar will turn an immigrant maid into the most powerful person in the room, and how her decisions with that power created ripples that are still transforming lives today. By the end of this video, you'll never look at inheritance or the working class people in your life the same way again. You know, in wealthy households, there's often one person who sees everything but is seen by no one, the housekeeper. While family members come and go with their dramas and demands, the domestic worker becomes the constant witness to the real life behind the mansion's walls. These silent observers hold stories that could fill libraries, and their storytelling potential is absolutely extraordinary because they witness the unfiltered truth of family dynamics. Meet Consuela, a 58-year-old housekeeper from Nicaragua who'd served the Sterling family for 23 years. Now, here's the thing about real life in these generational wealth situations. The help often knows the family secrets better than the family knows themselves. Consuela had watched 3 generations of Sterlings grow up, make mistakes, and sometimes break each other's hearts. Her immigrant story was woven into the very fabric of their lives. If you've ever been in a position where you see more than you're supposed to, you understand the delicate balance Consuela maintained. The key is what I call selective memory. You remember what matters for safety and care, but you forget what could cause harm. Consuela knew which son was secretly gay, which daughter had a drinking problem, and which grandchildren were actually loved versus tolerated. This knowledge wasn't gossip. It was the map she used to navigate the human drama around her. For the past 5 years, Consuela had been more than a housekeeper to Mr. Sterling. She'd become his primary caregiver as Parkinson's slowly stole his mobility and speech. While his children visited on holidays with empty smiles and expensive gifts, Consuela changed his sheets, prepared his special meals, and read him the newspaper every morning. Their bond had deepened into something beautiful and profound, a true story of loyalty that money can't buy. The turning point came on a crisp autumn morning when Mr. Sterling, his hands trembling more than usual, asked Consuela to bring him his locked writing box. What happened next would become the foundation of one of the most inspirational tales you'll ever hear. With great effort, he dictated a new clause for his will to Consuela, who wrote it down in her careful script. "Add this," he whispered, "and tell no one until the reading." Now, here's where our working class story takes an extraordinary turn. The clause stated that whoever could accurately describe the contents of his bedside drawer, not the obvious things like medications, but the personal items, would become the executor of his estate. The children, who rarely entered his room except to check his pulse against their inheritance timeline, would never know about the framed photo of his late wife's first recipe or the worn baseball from his grandson's first game. This moment teaches us a powerful life lesson. True intimacy isn't about grand gestures, but about noticing the small things that matter. In your own relationships, start paying attention to the details: your partner's favorite pen, your parents' preferred tea brand, your friend's comfort movie. These small observations build connections far deeper than expensive gifts ever could. Consuela's years of attention were about to prove more valuable than decades of genetic connection. As Consuela sealed the envelope with the new clause, she felt the weight of this secret settle on her shoulders. She knew this would cause an uproar that would make the family's usual drama look like a tea party. The Sterling children, 2 sons and a daughter, all in their 40s with expensive tastes and mounting debts, would see this as the ultimate betrayal by the help. But Mr. Sterling's eyes held a clarity she hadn't seen in years, and she knew this was his final act of ensuring his true legacy was protected. The funeral was, as expected, a showcase of crocodile tears and designer black attire. But the real performance began in the lawyer's oak-paneled office 2 weeks later. The Sterling siblings sat like vultures ready to feed, already mentally spending their shares. This emotional story reached its climax when the attorney, a serious man with 50 years of estate experience, read the unusual clause about the bedside drawer. The room went so quiet you could hear the expensive watch on the eldest son's wrist ticking. "What nonsense is this?" the daughter, Amanda, snapped. "We're not playing guessing games with our inheritance." But the lawyer remained unmoved. "The will is clear," he said. "The first person to accurately describe the personal contents of Mr. Sterling's bedside drawer becomes executor, with full discretion over distribution." The siblings looked at each other, then at Consuela, who sat quietly in the back, and the realization dawned slowly, then all at once. Now, here's what's fascinating about moments of truth like these. They reveal character with surgical precision. The eldest son, Robert, tried to bluff his way through. Well, there were medications, obviously, his reading glasses, some papers. Each guess was met with the lawyer's shake of his head. The middle child, Thomas, didn't even try, already texting his broker. Amanda, however, looked at Consuela with dawning horror, understanding that the woman who'd served their family for decades held the key to everything. One by one, the siblings failed. Then the lawyer turned to Consuela. "Ms. Rodriguez, would you care to try?" All eyes turned to the housekeeper in her simple dress. She took a deep breath and began listing items with the intimacy of someone who truly knew the man. The photo of Maria with her first apple pie recipe, facing east because she liked the morning light on it. The 1954 baseball from the Yankees game he attended with his father. The dried gardenia from their wedding day, pressed between Bible pages. She continued for 2 full minutes, each item more personal than the last. What happened next was human drama of Shakespearean proportions. The Sterling siblings erupted in outrage, accusations flying like shrapnel. She manipulated him. Undue influence. "We'll contest this in court." But the lawyer calmly produced a notarized video recording of Mr. Sterling explaining his reasoning, made just days before his death. On screen, the frail but clear-minded man stated, "My children know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Consuela knows what actually mattered in my life." This true story moment reveals a universal truth. We often underestimate the people who serve us, assuming their work is merely transactional. But for Consuela, caring for Mr. Sterling was never just a job. It was a relationship built on mutual respect and genuine affection. The working class often forms these deep bonds with those they serve, while blood relatives sometimes see only dollar signs and inheritance percentages. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're being underestimated or overlooked, remember Consuela's quiet power. She didn't argue, defend, or explain. She simply stated facts with calm dignity. When people are screaming, the quietest voice in the room often holds the most power. Your preparation and integrity will speak louder than any emotional outburst from those who feel entitled. The legal battle that followed was brutal and expensive, but ultimately futile. Multiple judges upheld the will, citing Mr. Sterling's clear mental state and the obvious care that went into the clause's design. More importantly, the media got wind of the story, and suddenly the Sterling siblings weren't just fighting their father's housekeeper. They were fighting public opinion. The court of public opinion, as it turns out, has little patience for privileged children attacking a faithful employee of 23 years. As executor, Consuela faced the monumental task of distributing an $85 million estate. But here's where this inspirational tale becomes truly remarkable. Instead of taking revenge or awarding herself an unreasonable share, Consuela did something nobody expected. She followed Mr. Sterling's true wishes, which he'd shared with her during their many conversations, but never wrote down. This required a level of integrity that left even the skeptical lawyer in awe. First, she paid off the children's reasonable debts. the medical bills, the education loans, the mortgages on their primary homes. Then she established trust funds for the grandchildren's education. But the bulk of the estate? She followed Mr. Sterling's true passion, creating a foundation for vocational training for domestic workers and immigrants. They're the backbone of this country, he told her once, and nobody ever thanks them properly. This real-life twist proved that sometimes the richest legacies aren't about keeping wealth in the family, but about spreading it where it can do the most good. Now, here's a life lesson about power and responsibility. When you're given authority, use it to uplift others rather than just enrich yourself. Consuela could have taken millions and disappeared to Nicaragua, a wealthy woman. Instead, she created opportunities for thousands of people like her. In your own sphere of influence, whether it's at work, in your family, or in your community, look for ways to use whatever power you have to create lifting tides rather than just personal yachts. The Sterling children, initially furious, gradually came to a grudging respect, though Amanda never fully reconciled. But something beautiful happened with the grandchildren. The youngest, Lily, began visiting Consuela, asking about her grandfather's real life, not the curated version her parents had presented. Through these conversations, a new kind of inheritance was passed down, not money, but memory, character, and the understanding that value isn't measured in bank statements alone. 5 years later, the Sterling Foundation has trained over 1,200 immigrants in skilled trades, language proficiency, and financial literacy. Consuela, now in her mid-60s, still serves as the foundation's director, though she finally allows herself the small luxury of hiring help for her own apartment. This emotional story came full circle in the most beautiful way possible. The person everyone underestimated became the architect of a legacy that will outlive everyone in that lawyer's office. What's truly extraordinary about this storytelling journey is how it redefines success. Consuela didn't become rich in the traditional sense. She lives modestly, drives the same reliable car, shops at the same markets. But she's wealthy in ways that matter: respect, purpose, and the knowledge that she honored a good man's true wishes. The working-class hero became the guardian of something far more valuable than money. She became the keeper of a man's soul and the creator of opportunities for thousands. If you take one thing from Consuela's experience, let it be this: your daily acts of integrity, attention, and care are building your legacy, whether you realize it or not. The way you treat people, the small kindnesses you offer, the dignity you maintain in difficult situations, these are the invisible clauses being written into the will of your life. And sometimes, as Consuela discovered, those invisible clauses become the most important ones of all. The Sterling mansion was eventually sold, with a portion of the proceeds funding the foundation in perpetuity. But in the neighborhood, the story lives on as one of those true stories that gives people hope. Hope that loyalty matters, that attention is rewarded, and that sometimes, just sometimes, the universe delivers justice through the most unexpected channels. And Consuela? She's still telling Mr. Sterling's stories to anyone who will listen, ensuring that what mattered most to him continues to matter in the world. So let me ask you directly, who really knows you? I'm not talking about who knows your net worth or your job title. I mean who knows the small things that make you you? The photo you keep facing a certain direction, the worn-out object you can't bear to throw away, the story behind that seemingly ordinary item on your nightstand? And more importantly, are you valuing those people accordingly? I want you to think about the Consuelas in your life. The service workers, caregivers, or domestic workers who see your real self when the masks come off. Are you treating them with the dignity and respect that such intimate knowledge deserves? Tell me in the comments. Who is one person in your life who knows the secret clauses of who you really are, and how have they proven their understanding? Remember this powerful truth: the legacy you leave behind isn't just in your will. It's in the memories you create with the people who truly see you. The expensive lawyer might draft the document, but it's the person who knows which photo you want facing east who understands what really matters. Start today by sharing those stories, those meanings, with someone who cares enough to listen. If this message resonated with you, if it made you reconsider what true wealth really means and who holds your real legacy, then do something about it right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we share real, powerful stories like this every week. We're building a community of people who believe that everyone has value, especially those who serve quietly in the background of our lives.